Good morning, my loves. Yes, the sun is coming up, finally. Kind of a tough topic. Aging parents, aging family members. I talked to a good friend of mine a few days ago, and his parents are in their 80s, and it hurts him and his sibling to see them age. I have clients who have older parents, and they're having to move them into their home. That's kind of tough. Now, in my own situation, my mom died, oh gosh, she was in her 70s. She had lymphoma. So her last 5 or 6 years, my parents were very active and loved to travel. She couldn't, the cancer just kicked her ass, and it was awful. My dad was in research and development with Boeing. He traveled all over the world. Wonderful man, very outgoing, loved golf. Oh my gosh, that man loved golf. And we had a large home. I grew up in a very large home on an acreage. And he loved more than anything to work in his yard. He took care of everything himself. He did not want a gardener. He did not want a landscaper. He would do it. We would go on vacation. He would end vacation early to come home and mow the yard and edge and trim and have it perfect. That was his baby. For him, it was self-care. That's great. So when my mom got really ill, they retired to the Ozarks. Culture shock. And he had a home built for her that was gorgeous. And then after she passed, his health started to decline, to the point he couldn't take care of his yard. And it was a standard city lot, a beautiful home with a beautiful yard. He couldn't do it. That was hard for him. I remember the conversations very well. Bryn, I just can't do this. I just can't do it anymore. He did not want to bring anybody in to do it for him. Okay, got to let him do it their way. So he moved into an assisted living, which was essentially a duplex. There was a care facility, I don't know, like a half block away that they were affiliated with, but it was a very nice 2-bedroom, 2-bath duplex, and it was lovely. And it got to the point he couldn't play golf. That hurt, because he had always played golf, and that hurt. But the worst of all of it is when he couldn't drive anymore. He had macular degeneration, and I kind of thought myself, my brother, somebody was probably going to have the talk with him. Nope. He realized it for himself. His reflexes weren't as good as they were. His vision was going. He put the keys away. I was so proud of him for doing that, but that was very emasculating for him. And I want you to think about that. When you take away someone's independence, when you take away their livelihood, what they have done forever and a day, you take away their passion, a piece of them dies. And we don't realize that. People aren't very considerate. They're not very compassionate. They can just be downright cruel. When you have a family member move into your home, it's with the best of intentions. It's because you love them. For them, that means that they used to take care of you. Now you're taking care of them. Yeah, that doesn't go down well. There are cultures in this world. I have friends whose culture is you take care of your parents. That's just how they're raised. That's what you do. When your parents start getting older, they either move into your home or you move into their home, and it's just one big family, and that's how it is. Yeah, that's not really the way it is for the most part in America at all. I have colleagues all over the world, and, after a few years, you get to know everybody, on a casual basis, and they'll say, oh my gosh, you don't live with your son? No. He lives 1,200 miles away. Well, that's just, how can they do that? I'm an independent woman. I don't want to live with my family. I don't want to live with anyone. I have a beautiful life. I mean, if I meet somebody someday, that's great. But no, I don't want to live with family, ever. No, that's not an option. Not in my world. They don't understand that because in their culture, that's what you do. In their culture, the son looks after the mother. Yeah, no. And I'm not saying anything bad about my son. I adore my son and his wife and my granddaughter. But yeah, no. Nope. I am too darn independent. I raised him. He is, I just can't say enough good things about my son, his wife, and my granddaughter. They have an amazing family. They're doing very, very well. And that's how it's supposed to be. That's his family. You know, that's his dream. He's living his dream, and I'm so thankful. That's great. I did my part. You know, he has his wings. He's flown. He's doing great. I don't interfere. Every culture is different. But please, when somebody is forced into retirement, whether they're a doctor, an attorney, even a politician, it hurts. A piece of them dies. It hurts their heart because this has been their livelihood. When my dad retired, he had been, oh my gosh, he'd been with Boeing forever. And it hurt. I mean, they gave him a beautiful retirement party that I attended, and, you know, it was lovely. But that was his life. He loved the people he worked with. He loved going to work every day. He loved traveling. That was over. And a little piece of him died. A lot of people welcome retirement. Other people, not so much. And you just have to be kind, because each and every one of us are going to face this someday. It's going to be us. How do you want to be treated when it's your time to retire, when it's your time to step down? Conversations with aging parents can be frustrating because my dad lived, 4 hours away from me. And you know, I called him 2 or 3 times a day, every day, to check on him and chat, but it was the same conversation every time. And that's okay. You can't be critical of them. Just be kind. It's frustrating. It's hard. When somebody is dealing with family members with dementia, Alzheimer, Parkinson, be patient with them. They're not saying what they're saying and doing what they're doing out of ill intent or to piss you off. They can't help it. It's a disease process. Be kind. Don't speak harshly to them. Don't tell them off. I know some family members had told my dad off. My dad was in really poor health. He was in and out of intensive care. He would get out of the hospital and have to go into a rehab to regain his strength before going home. And he hated it. But you got to do what you got to do. And he was a good sport. People there treated him lovely. They were so kind to him. Family members could be very harsh with him. They forgot. This is a man in his 90s who used to be a very vibrant man, who loved to just get in the car and go and do. And those days are done. He's sick. He's in pain. He's frustrated. My dad told me many times, Bryn, I'm done. I'm just ready to go. Well, Daddy, I realize that, but you're not going to go till it's time. So you just hang in there. You just have to be patient, but don't be mean to them. Don't speak harshly. Don't yell at them. And it just, people would go visit him and be rude to him, and then he would call me and he would cry. You know, it's not like he would say, it's not like I want to be like this. I know, Daddy, it's okay. It's okay. It's just heartbreaking. People, I'm trying to use my words carefully, are very rude to elderly people. They're not revered. They're not respected. They're talked down to. They're shoved aside. They have a lot of wisdom to offer. A lot. Just because they've retired, just because they're in a retirement home, a nursing home, doesn't mean they should be shoved away. I would love to see more programs where young people, elementary school kids, are brought into nursing homes, even if it's through FaceTime, to learn the stories of these people. There's a lot of wonderful stories, knowledge, life experiences that they have to share that are going to be lost if somebody doesn't listen to them. It would do their soul, I can't talk, it would do their soul so much good to sit down with a kid and share their life story. It would do wonders for the child to learn this is how somebody lived 80 years ago. It might be a completely different life experience than they've ever known. Such knowledge. It's invaluable. It's wonderful. It's invaluable. Offer that. Whether it's an elementary school, your Sunday school class, whatever it is, kids in the community, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, whatever they call it nowadays. Don't ignore that treasure of knowledge and experience that's just sitting there untapped. Women, men too, but they have wonderful recipes that have been handed down through their family that are just lost. Because many people, when they go into a nursing home, they're forgotten. Many family members will park them there and leave them there. They don't visit. Remember them over holidays. Just once a month, go in and say hi. Take them flowers. Do anything. Just let them know you care. Don't ignore them, because kind of they're for the grace of God, because we're all going to be in that position someday. How do you want to be treated? How do you want to be remembered? Do you want to just be shoved aside? Do you want to be spoken to harshly? There are families that mistreat their elders physically, sexually. They are violent with them. They steal their medications. There are horror stories out there. And that's just, no, that's intolerable. Don't do that. These people deserve our respect. Now, I'm not saying everybody was a good soul, but for the most part, I like to think, our elders have been good folks. The people that I know, the families that I work with, they love their family members. They're just having trouble dealing with what's in front of them. And lastly, and I know we're running in a little long on time, let them make their plans their way for their end of life. It's about them, it's not about you. Let them, if they want to have a prepaid burial plan, God bless them. If they want to sit you down and have you write everything out in detail, let them. Let them. This is their last act of independence. Okay? Let them decide how they want to leave the world. Let them decide if they want a memorial, a funeral, a graveside service, whatever works for them. It's about them, it's not about you. Give them that right. Respect it. And I deal with a lot of families going through this, and it is not a pretty sight. Because so many times, even in hospice situations, family members are fighting. Grandma is laying there in bed, conscious, alert, terminal, and people are arguing about her funeral. And I just, I could be a little pushy. And I just tell them to shut up. It's not about you guys. It's about her. And I turn to her and I will say, what do you want? Ignore them. It's about you. What do you want? How do you want to go out and be remembered? And that's what we're going to do. If a family has 2 or 3 different religions, fine. But let the person who it's going to be their service, let them decide. It's not about you. It's about them. Be kind. Be considerate. Give them dignity and respect. Take care of them. See that they're clean and bathed and fed, that they have the medical treatment that they need. Before my mom died, my dad took care of her. He refused to put her in a nursing home or extended care or anything. She was at home. And my dad would, every day, he would put lotion on her arms and her legs and her hands. He tried to put moisturizer on her face, which was, men just aren't good at that sometimes. But he tried so hard. He would paint her nails and just anything he could do for her to show her he loved her, he honored her, he respects her. And it was beautiful. That's how I was raised. I will never forget that. I'm sure my son will never forget witnessing this. It was beautiful. My dad was such a good man, and he was just wonderful to her. So when it was his turn to go, it was a little different in our family. He had remarried, and the individual he married said, "No, you're not going to die at home. I don't want you coming back. We need you to go to a nursing home." I had promised my mom Daddy would never go to a nursing home. That hurt because it was out of my control. So he was in the hospital. I had driven down, and I was crying. And I told him, I promised Mom. And he said, "Brand, let it go. Just let it go. It's okay. It's okay. We got this." Total daddy, typical daddy. I said, "Okay." He said, "Just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's not worth a fight." Okay. I had to keep my mouth shut. I tell you, my tongue was about to snap off its roller because we're talking about my daddy. Okay. It's your call. They moved him. I stayed there, in town. And they moved him from the hospital to the nursing home. They treated him, a small town in the Ozarks, they treated him like royalty. They were so kind to him. I mean, I can't say enough good things. There are bad nursing homes, but there are some outstanding nursing homes. And I was there when they moved him in and brought him some coffee. And he was tired. By the time they got him moved and everything and settled, it was getting late and he was tired. So I sat with him. He sent me to the hotel. You need to go get some rest. Okay. I'll be back in the morning. I was there at 6 a.m., coffee in hand. My big coffee drinkers in our family. And I knew it was his last day. I knew. And family started coming in, sitting with him, visiting. And, it just broke my heart because I had promised. But it was out of my control. It was his decision. We had to let it be his decision. The nurses in the nursing home were outstanding. And I will tell you this one little snippet, and I'll try not to get emotional. So he knew he was dying. And different people would go in and sit with him, and I went in to sit for a while. The Masters was on. My dad in golf, big time. So we're watching golf, and he's in a recliner with blankets and everything. And he said, "Bryn, would you put my shoes on me?" That's a clue. When people are getting ready to pass, they will stare at a window, they'll stare at a door, they'll ask for their shoes, they'll ask for their hat. Don't give them a bad time. Go along with it. It's their journey, not yours. I said, "You bet, Daddy." I put his shoes on him. I said, "You got a hot date?" And he smiled. He said, "You can say that. Why don't you go get the nurse?" I knew it's time. So I stepped out of the room, told everybody he wants the nurse, don't go in. 2 nurses, I went and got the head nurse. They went in, and I'm sitting outside the room with the family. And they opened the door and they called me in. And they said, "Miss Brenda, would you come in?" I thought, "Oh God, what's wrong?" So I go in. They had moved him from a recliner into a wheelchair. And he took my hand. He was taking, his last breaths. And I prayed. That's all I can do. And they gave me the courtesy, as I'm a retired surgical intensive care nurse, they handed me the stethoscope and allowed me to call time of death, which was beautiful. Sorry. But he did it his way. He called the shots. It's not what I would have picked for him. It's not what my brother would have picked for him. It's what he chose. You have to respect their wishes. It's not about us. It's about them. Give them dignity, give them respect, give them kindness, give them compassion, because it will be us one day.